One of today's most successful companies, even in the midst of the current economic conditions, is Yum Brands. They're the world's largest restaurant company. If you can believe one company employing almost 1.5 million people, we are going to be talking to the CEO of that particular company. You may not know the name Yum Brands, but you know KFC, you know Pizza Hut, you know taco brands, and we are pleased to welcome David Novak to our program. Hi, David, and thanks for coming on Money Matters.
It's my pleasure, Gary.
The kind of company that you run is the kind of company that we at Gary Goldberg Financial Services like, and we're in pretty good company because I would assume you also meet the criteria of a man like Warren Buffett when he makes his choices. So is it something that you focus on in terms of staying a particular course? How do you go about managing a company that is consumer-oriented?
Well, our formula for success is really pretty simple, but hard to execute. It's basically that you got to make sure that your people capability's right, make sure you have the very best people in position. I always say, show me a good leader, I'll show you a good business, and that's true. So we focus first on building people capability, then you satisfy more customers, then you make money. And I think a lot of times companies start out thinking about the money side without thinking how you really get there. So we build all our processes and build our culture around the notion that people capability is what it's all about.
There are many companies, David, that focus on employees first and consumers second, and that's their theory. They feel if they can take care of their employees, the consumers will benefit from that. What's your comment about that philosophy?
I think they're totally intertwined. You know, I believe that the people capability is essential to satisfy customers, but you want your people very focused on customers. So, yeah, I don't really like saying that the people come first. You know, I think the people capability comes first because that satisfies customers.
Now, you wrote a book called Taking People With You, and it's a great title, but when I looked at the book, Taking People With You, there's no training in a sense for that kind of a philosophy. It is typically learned by CEOs such as yourself from being in the trenches. Again, is that what happened with you at Yum Brands?
Well, basically, the book Taking People With You I wrote because it's everything I've learned over the years about how to make big things happen. And nobody can make anything big happen by themselves. And so I started teaching Taking People With You as a leadership program inside of Yum Brands about 15 years ago, and I kept developing it and crafting it and improving it. But it is all about the process of getting things done. Like you said, a lot of leadership books will just give you the headline or the title, but they don't put any meat on the bones. This is a real how to get it done book in terms of what you start. I even asked the reader to start out with what's the single biggest thing you're working on that'll impact your business. And by the time you read the book, you'll have an action plan. So it's a workbook. It's not just a leadership book with a lot of platitudes, based on experiences I've had and also the experiences I've learned from other people like Warren Buffett and other CEOs and change experts, etc.
Last week, I read the book along with one other book. I was on vacation in Montego Bay, David, and I took two books with me, Taking People With You and Steve Jobs. And I could not tell you how much the approach that Steve Jobs used at Apple was so different, in my opinion at least, from the way you have run your business and your personal relationships with your employees. They're night and day.
Well, I think that, you know, leadership comes in different styles and forms, and clearly Steve Jobs is one of the iconic leaders in the history of business and the world. And you know, I think a lot of what he was driven by his own individual ideas and his own individual points of views on things. And maybe some of the rest of us, like myself, maybe we're not as smart as a Steve Jobs, and we need to bring people along with us to expand our IQ points. So, so my approach is to get people involved so that you get the very best thinking, so that you can get the very best results, and you can get the most commitment so that you can get what needs to be done.
So there are many ways to skin a cat, and leading a company is what it comes down to. But I am more inclined to go the David Novak approach in running my company. What you run into, what is unique about Yum Brands, are the cultural differences that you have to deal with in marketing. For example, Kentucky Fried Chicken, where you have hundreds, maybe over 600 different stores in China now. And I don't know how many you had 10 years ago, but it had to be a fraction of that.
Yeah, well, we have almost 4,000, over 4,000 restaurants in China, and 15 years ago we had 100.
Okay, I was close. I said 600. Yeah, 4,000.
So we've just grown exponentially in China, and half of our profits now come from the emerging markets. So it's about 75 of our countries account for half of our profits, and they're the emerging markets like China, Vietnam, India, Malaysia. So we've got a big booming business with lots of upside as we go forward.
So my next question is an obvious one. When you're dealing with that many different countries and currencies, and for the sake of disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, Gary Goldberg Financial Services in many of their accounts does hold Yum Brands. How do you deal with currency impacts? Because, I don't have to tell you what currency fluctuations have done to companies' earnings in the past year. How do you deal with it? Because you're beholden to stockholders and your quarterly earnings reports.
Well, basically, we're a big global company, 117 countries, so we have diversification that I think has a lot of that comes into play. But frankly, we don't really run our business basis on foreign exchange because that's going to change one year from another. We run our business on the basics of what do we have to do to build our brand, satisfy more customers, and in the end, we think our track record will ultimately speak for itself. And Gary, as you know, being a shareholder, one of the things that we're very proud of is in the last 10 years we've averaged, we've had at least 13% earnings per share growth every single year. And our target is to do at least 10% because we've known when we studied other great companies, if you get at least 10% earnings per share growth every single year and you do that consistently, you get rewarded in the marketplace.
You also go into the Business Hall of Fame, I would say, if you can consistently do that. Your same-store sales went up by over 20%. And it's just remarkable to see. Do you encourage debate amongst your key people?
Well, we think that we call a healthy decision healthy debate. We think if you have healthy debate, you're going to get to a healthy decision. So one of the things we talk about, and I talk about it in the book, is that, you really have to create a safe haven for your people so that people can really get all the best ideas out on the table. You can argue over what's right or wrong, and then you go out and make it happen. So I actually recognize people who bring forward ideas that take on the status quo and have the courage of their conviction. But that's a big part of what we do. And also we have a lot of fun recognizing people in our company as well.
How do you go about doing that other than just monetary raises?
Oh, I do. I have all kinds of fun awards. I give away these. I started out giving away rubber chickens when I was president of KFC. Then I gave away cheese heads, those Green Bay Packer cheese heads, when I was president of Pizza Hut. Now I give away these teeth with long legs, and they talk it's called the Walk and the Talk Award it's a Yum Chairman Award. So all of our leaders give away fun recognition awards because we think a big part of what makes your culture and what gets results is that people come to work, they love what they do, and they have fun doing it.
I couldn't agree with you more. And the most successful companies I've had dealings with try to have that same fun culture permeate their employees and the entire organization because it does spill over to the consumer. How do you keep up in your industry? Again, Kentucky Fried Chicken, you're talking about pizzas, you're talking about tacos. How do you keep up with the healthier foods concept and less calories?
Well, I think what the big thing is that we listen and respond to the voice of the customers. And our customers, they love our food. I mean, we are good time, delicious, wonderful food. The customer has also told us that they're looking for balanced options. So we've launched Kentucky Grilled Chicken at KFC. We've launched So Good Salads at KFC. We have at Taco Bell. We have a line of products under our Fresco banner, which is like 10 items with under 10 fat grams and around 150 calories apiece. So these are choices that we offer up. we're constantly improving the quality of our food and the nutritional content of our food, reducing sodium, things like that. It's a balancing act. The bottom line is, though, is that people, they love our Kentucky grilled chicken and our fresco tacos because they taste good. And that's what we're all about, is making great tasting products, but also providing balanced options.
David Novak, was this basically learned on the job, your leadership skills, or did you learn them in school? Did they become something as part of your personality just from being a kid who had leadership skills? What is your particular background in running a company that employs 1.5 million people?
Well, I was blessed to have really great parents. My father was a government surveyor. I lived in a trailer until I was in the 8th grade. I lived in 23 states by the time I was in the 7th grade. So I had to move around, get to know a lot of people, and then, I went to work. I went to college, and then I was lucky to have just unbelievably great leaders. Everybody I worked with ultimately became a leader in their company. And I've learned from the best. And the thing that I think that has helped me the most is I love food, I love people, I love marketing, and so I get to do that all the time. So I'm doing what I love, and that's the advice I always give people: is do what you love. Because when you do what you love, you end up you're not going to work. You're doing your hobby. People love to get better at things that they love to do. And it just makes life a lot more fun. So, that's one of the big things that I've had, is I've been able to do what I love, and when you do that, you want to be an avid learner. You want to get better at it all the time.
Last question: what do you love the most, chicken, pizza, or tacos?
I always answer that by saying, in your family, you always have kids, and you love them all the same.
You should be running for political office with that answer. Well, David Novak, I thank you so much for taking the time. The name of the book, Taking People With You, The Only Way to Make Big Things Happen. David, continued success to you and your shareholders and your employees, and it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you very much, Gary. It's been my honor.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.